how was that like winning the kickboxing 1986?
Winning that kickboxing match in 1986 was the culmination of my journey in martial arts from 1972. From 1972, all my training came together at a point. I've talked about that in another video where you're having those goals. So I trained so hard for that kickboxing match. I did many rounds of just boxes, really like banging, just hands, but it got me on another level of just banging, because when you go full-time contact fighting, you're not trying to pull back or fight like, with any type of control. You're trying to knock that person out, they're trying to knock you out, and that's what boxers train to do. So that got me, and then I would kickbox, and a lot of the kickers couldn't really punch as well. And so that punching added another dimension to my game, and I did really well in that tournament. And actually won the championship, and it was like, I remember that it was like the culmination of a life mission. I'm 30 years old. I started training at 15, and I was very filled up, and I knew that I fulfilled that part of my destiny.
So after winning your kickboxing tournament in 1986, did you stay in Newark? Did you move? What was that like? Did you stay there?
Yeah, I stayed in Newark till we moved from Newark in 1996. So I went back, won another match in 1987, and then I kind of just practiced and was teaching a lot of youth in Newark from 87 to basically to 96. I was doing more teaching than I wasn't competing anymore. I would still spar people, but I wasn't the bug to compete like I had been. It kind of left. I still like to spar and work out, but I wanted more to train other youth to go through that. I did take a couple fighters out there in the 1990s. They didn't quite win the championship, but they won a few fights. And that was kind of nice to just be on the training side of it. But I felt like that was part of my training, was to train others at that point. And I had gotten, I left one situation with my previous wife. We divorced in 1989, and I had married another woman, the woman I'm married to now, in 1990, and we had she had a daughter, 8 years old, and then she and I had a son in 1993, and then we moved to North Carolina from New Jersey in 1996, and once I got here, I began with another group of Bondo practitioners. I would train the kids in Bondo, and my son, he was 3 at the time, but he was front and center with me. But by the time he was 4 or 5, I was training he and many of his friends as well, all the way from like first grade all the way up to about fifth or sixth grade.
So what made you transition? I know you said you had a family. You was raised in a family. What made you transition and leave Newark, New Jersey, to come to Durham, North Carolina?
Well, there was more opportunity in North Carolina, professionally, than I was able to exploit in Newark and New Jersey, New York area, and I felt that it would be a better place to raise a family.
Straight like that. Okay, so boom, now you're in North Carolina. You say you had a son? How was your son in the martial arts while training him?
Oh man, my son was fantastic. I mean, he was tailor made for it. I mean, I had him throwing punches at 1.5 and kicking and just playing around with him. I made it fun for him, but he had a lot of natural coordination and ability, and he took to it like a fish in water. I mean, he won his first tournament at 6. He was supposed to be 8, but he was 6 and won first place in the Bondo tournament. That's when he got on the map. And then from there, he would win tournaments. I'd take him to the tournament every year from 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Probably from 6 to 10 or 11, he was a champion. I mean, he kind of bucked me a little bit. At about 10, he wanted to play basketball because I wanted to expose him to all the different sports. So he wanted to play basketball. He really wasn't really as into the martial arts like I was, because keep this in mind, I had him on a Jet Li, Bruce Lee program. I was going to make him into the best that ever lived. And I had him on a strict training regimen, but I didn't want to force him to do it. You know, he sat me down and said he really liked basketball better, and you know, I supported him in that. But he was so good. I felt like I'd done my duty, because he definitely knows how to handle himself and is not afraid. And that's the main thing I wanted to be able to, you know, every man has to have the ability, I feel, to defend himself and his family. And he got to that level. I mean, funny thing is, in 2005, I think he was about 13, 14 years old. He went to a tournament. I said, man, can you come to this tournament? Tournament with me. I need one more fighter. He said, okay, Dad, I'll come. But he really wasn't into it, but he came. So I would train him just, you know, about a half hour, 3 or 4 times a week, because I didn't want him to buck me and say, I don't want to come. So I trained him, but he was doing a lot of basketball, so his cardio was really good. Man, he went to that tournament and went through like 4, 5 guys. And he went through about 3 of them back to back. He was so gassed, but he was kicking ass. It was beautiful, and people were coming up to me, man, you really trained your son. And I felt kind of guilty, because that was all just kind of his instinct. So I was very proud of him that day, 2005, and he came home with first place. But I was more excited than he was.